Good evening. I hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, night, wherever you are. Um, this one we're creating the CCTV, like I mentioned in the previous video. So I'm going to jump straight into it and we'll create our blueprint actors and we'll slowly, um, create all the elements that we need. So it'll be only two blueprint actors we're going to create. One will be the cameras, so we'll just do that now. So blueprint actor and we just call this CCTV, so BP underscore CCTV, cam, double click. Now, if you have a fancy model for the camera, sorry, you can add that in. So I'm going to add a static mesh, so you can choose, to load whatever mesh you want. I'm going to just use a cube, so I'll just use a static cube, and I'll just kind of scale this down and make it a bit kind of rectangular. There we go. So this is kind of our camera. What we also need is the actual camera. So we do need to add a camera to our scene. And then that cube as well on that. Make sure I don't want to parent them like that. So let's move this static mesh. Then I can kind of make this look a little bit bigger. Of course, you can scale this to whatever size you want. I'm just placing it where the camera body is a little bit. There we go. So this is my camera, nothing fancy. I'm going to hit compile, save, and we can drop this into the scene in a bit. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create the laptop or PC or computer. So I have some assets from the Matrix demo that I downloaded. It's in the Epic Store. You can go and access that from the Fab if you want. So you can go Fab Store here. I think you can just type in like Matrix. Is it Matrix? Or is it Epic? It's Epic content, so it's Epic. Is there like low? It's in my library. I know I downloaded it, but it's Neo's Matrix table basically. I'm sure you've all seen the demo at this point. But yeah, I just took it's just the monitor asset. So if we go to apartments, meshes, it's that monitor. So for that, I'll use that. So when we click on our screen, we can load that in. Anyway, so we've got the CCTV cam. Let's create a new blueprint actor, and this will be BP underscore CCTV PC. Right. And then what we're going to do is add a static mesh, and then I'll load that mesh in so we have something that we can see, we can click on. Go for this one like so. Compile, save. Now what we'll do is I want to add some variables. So I want to add first a boolean and call this open CCTV. Sorry, open CV. And we also want another variable which will be integer, and it'll be just the number of cameras. So we call this number of cams, and we might as well set this up now so we can do it later. Integer, there we go. Compile, save. Make sure this is not checked, and this is at 0. All right. So let's start with event graph, and we'll leave the event begin play, delete these two. And let's say from the event begin play, we want to say get actor of class of all class, and the class we want to get is our BP underscore cam, because that's what we want to look at. So it's the CCTV cam that we created, and we want to promote this variable. So you can either drag out and then go promote to variable, and we're going to call this CCTV cams. So what we'll do is get an array of what's this update? Okay. What we want to do is on begin event, we want to get all the cameras in our scene and put them into the array. So hit C and call this load cams into array. I'm going to try to label everything as I go along. Right. Okay. So I want to create our interaction. So we don't have it in there, so we have to go class add our BPI interaction in here, so we can interact and double click. Let's move this down. So we're going to get our open CCTV. We're going to get, and we also need a set. So we're going to say set. All right, and we're going to say tick this for true. Right. We need to come out of here with a branch, and we're going to feed this into the false. Let's try to keep this nice and clean like that. And what we want to do is put the condition in here into our branch. And I want to get the get player controller and get player character. So let's get the player controller, get player character. All right. And off of the get player character, I'm going to say disable inputs. Disable inputs. So when we interact with our CCTV and when we press E, we want to disable our character input so we can't move around, right? So we're disabling the inputs. Our controller goes into here, and we're going to pass this in here. Then after we disable our first person, basically our first person character, which our third person is a third person template that we turned into a first person character, but we want to just disable that view and the movement, and we want to enable our new inputs to interact with the different cameras in our scene, so we can cycle through them. So what we're going to do is say enable self, so enable input on self, and then the player controller is going to be from here. We can reuse this get player controller, so we don't need to have multiple nodes. We'll come back and add our view to set the view, but that's all we should need for this, and I'll just call this open CCTV. All right, and I'll make a little space for when we add the function, then we can switch to our view target, like a view target blend function once we create the function. All right, so close. We want to do close, so we're going to create a custom, add a custom event, and this will be close CCTV. This is what we're going to call it, close CCTV. And we're going to set our CCTV to unchecked, so it's false. All right. And then we need to get our player controller, get player controller. There it is, get player controller. And off here we want to disable the input. Disable input. Alright. The target is this goes into controller, and the target is self. We want to disable itself. And then we want to re-enable our thing, the ability to look and move again, right? So from here, what I want to do is say reset. Oh, it has to come out the controller. Reset, ignore look input, like so. Okay, and that set goes into there. Let's clean this up. There we go. And then we're enabling our player control, so we can just copy this, paste this in, and we get our get player character. So it's basically the opposite of up here where we're setting it and disabling it. We're doing, it's almost like the opposite. Okay, and we're going to enable the input. Enable input. Controller goes into controller. Target is this. Get rid of that. Cool. That can go in here. Keep this nice and tidy. I don't like when I drag that out, it goes to target. I don't know why. Like for example, if I let's delete that. When you drag this and you say enable input, this is a player controller, but it goes to the target. I don't know why don't it just go to the controller? Because that's a controller. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's some reason for that. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, that's me just complaining. Anyway, so we've got the input, and then what we want to do is set the view blend. So go back to our first person, right? So set view target. Does it not come? Does it come out here? Set view. There we go. Target with blend. Pump this into here, and again, the target is the controller, and the new target is our player character. And that should be the close. So close CCTV. I can spell space. There we go. Did I put a space in that one? Yeah. Cool. Now we need to create a function so then we can cycle through our cameras, right? So let's create a new function here. Add, and we'll call this look through cams. Look through cams. And off of that, we want to say set view. Right, we need to get controller again, get player controller, because it always comes with that. Then set view target. There we go. And that goes in here. Our new target will be the cameras, so we need our camera array, and we're going to say get, and then from here we're going to say get copy. And this feeds into our new blend target. We need to set the index, which will come from our number of cameras. So we're going to say get, and that goes into here. And then all we need is a return node. Return. Add return node. There we go. Compile. Save. Now we go back to our event graph. Before I forget, let's add in here our look through cam, our new function. So because we want to go back to no, we're going back, we're going to our, so when we close it, we're going back to our first person, but we need to say, okay, when we enable the input, we want to go to the target blend, right, of these cameras. So we want to switch between that. So we need to say, look through camera. Oh, there we go. Okay. From here, we need to do cycle through the camera. So we need to assign a key. So you can choose what you want. I'm going to use the left mouse key click. Left mouse button. You can assign whatever you want to cycle through the cameras. Alright, I'm going to get a set, and I'm going to get a get. I'm also going to get an array, the array for CCTV, so we're going to say get. Okay, so let's kind of set this up, and we also need our function to look through, so this is right at the end. We'll put this here, then the set goes here, so we're going to pass this in, and that goes to that. Now, we need to come off of here and add in a select, will be right at the bottom, there we go. And we need to say, let's move this over here and get this nice and tidy. So we're going to say plus, so we need add. Oh, that's minus, I have to shift plus, there we go. So +1, and then on the CCTV is going to be -1, right? Subtract, so we need to get the length, I almost spelled length right, That was close. So, subtract 1 as well, and then we're gonna say greater. Alright. And that condition goes into here. Now move this across. So keep it nice and clean. Well, not clean, but so you can see it, hopefully. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit better. Okay, we're going to pipe this into this, and this goes into here. And we also need to put this into false. Okay. And that's all we should really need for our to cycle for our camera. So when you hit left mouse button, it will cycle through the number of cameras. So we're getting the length, and then we're cycling through it. So we're setting that C. I'm going to call this cycle cams. Lastly, we need to exit. So I'm going to set keyboard Q to quit, and we're going to call our close event up here, close CCTV, which is our custom event, and I'll just comment this, close CCTV, compile. Now I'll just make sure, so we set that, that's fine. We're looking through the camera, we've got the array, we've got our blueprint in here for the camera. This is checked. Yeah, that's fine. I think we are good to go. I think we are ready to just test it now. So, sorry it took me so long. We're going to go to our content window. We're going to go to our blueprint actors. So you can choose where to place this, this CCTV. I'm going to put this in this little side room here. Why not? Right, place it over here. Maybe over here a little bit. And then I'm going to add cameras. So we're going to content, CCTV camera. Oh, and what we can do, we can also, if you want to stylize the camera, say if you want it like green, like a green tint or some dirt or whatever you want to do to your cameras, you can do that as well. I didn't really cover that too much, but you can go in here and you can change if we add this, so you can see it happening in real time. So I can change the perspective. Maybe I want it more closer, so it doesn't have a large field of view. So you can play around with that. Something like that's okay. And then of course you can then change all the lens effects. So if you want in vignette image effects, you can see it happening right there, the vignette. If you want to sharpen the video to make give that kind of weird look. I don't mind it actually being sharpened. It kind of looks terrible, like a bad CCTV. Add saturation and or tint of color, so you can go to offset. Maybe you want to offset and then add some like a red or green or blue. You can play around with the colors and play around with that saturation. Let's bring that values down, but I'll reset that. Let me reset this back. There we go. Turn the offset off. I'm gonna kind of just desaturate it so it's a bit muted. Like so it's got a little bit of color, but not fully. So it's muted. And then I want to add some aberration. So I've got aberration, chromatic aberration. There we go. There we go. So it doesn't look perfect. And you can even play around with the offset and get that distortion. Cool. Compile, save. Now we've got the camera in our scene, so you can kind of place it wherever you want. So you can place how many you want in the scene, because remember when we load, it loads all these cameras into the array, and then we'll cycle through these. So let's say copy one here, Control D, and I'll put one looking at the paintings, for example. Let's zoom in to this one here, and then duplicate, and I'll have one up here. And move it up so it's looking down at the entire scene. For example, you could have another one, whoop, down here watching the elevator. like so. Rotate this around, like that. So that we got one watching this screen here. Now if we go play, let this run through. Do, 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 do. Alright, let's open our little door. Go to the CCTV screen. It's a bit too high, but that's fine. E. Now you can see that's the camera that's behind us. If I now left click on my mouse, I can cycle through different cameras. Now you may notice I forgot to turn off my HUD, so you can just set an event, send that to turn off your HUD. I'll let you do that if you want to. You can also turn off the crosshair, but you can see we're cycling through the cameras, and then if I press Q, I can just quit and leave that. The phone's ringing. Let me answer that. Hello. There we go. But there you go. We have a CCTV system in place. Now, if you want to make this like more fancy, like I said, uh, maybe you want to, you can play around with getting those visuals looking better. Maybe you want to add a desk in here and all sorts. So if I go here, there's a lot of these assets are pretty cool. So, oh, sorry. But yeah, you can get like that corner table in here. Kind of like my desk, I have a corner table, but I don't have these kind of drawers. This is more like a workshop one. It's very big, but yeah, you can kind of squeeze it in. But you can kind of place this here, like so. Maybe scale this up a bit bigger, over exaggerate this. Okay, let's tilt it up. Yeah, get some other assets. I don't know what other assets. What's that? I don't know what that is. We've got a sandwich or something. I don't know what is that. Looks like a pizza or something. But yeah, you can dress this up to you're happy with it. Like I said, I swear there was a power cords and stuff like this. Yeah, look, wires and all sorts of crazy stuff they made. It's actually quite good. Everyone keyboard, drop in the keyboard. Let's go hit play and see how that looks. Let's open this. So there we go. You could even probably, maybe if you wanted, you could have mover and you could have this camera going like, I guess you change the pivot point, but then you could have the camera, slowly cycling, like going left to right if you wanted, or up and down. I'll leave that up to you to experiment and try out, but I'm sure you'll figure out a way to get the camera to move. Or maybe even want the camera to follow the player all the time. So they're fixed, but they follow you like the eyes. Maybe you can try that. Give you a few ideas to try out and do yourself. See what works best for you. But yeah, anyway, enjoy your day, morning, evening, or night. Thank you again. Hopefully, I tried to keep it um, as simple as I can. But yeah, thank you again. Bye bye.